G'day, it's Lockie Rook here, and I'm very honoured to be joined by, well, a man that's been part of an iconic part of Warrnambool for nearly 80 years, and that is Rauerts Shoex in Fairy Street in Warrnambool. Pete is retiring, hanging the shoes up, so to speak, and Rauerts is closing. And I'm very lucky, as I said, to be joined by him in the studio today to have a chat about Rauerts and its history. G'day, Pete. Great to talk to you.
G'day, Rookie.
Mate, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in, and we're going to share some memories of Rauerts and whatnot. This is, I'm sure it's been a bit of a bittersweet time for you to start looking, because I know you've had a lot of people come through, Pete, and want to talk about the history of Rauerts and what it's meant to them.
Yeah, they do. They all want to come in. They all want to say g'day and, I suppose, congratulate us on retiring, even though they're disappointed the shop's going. But, they want to talk about the memories and talk about the train. And so...
Well, I want to do all of that with you this afternoon or today. First, though, for those that may not know, nearly 80 years ago, Rauerts Shoex opened. Give us a little bit of the starting history of Rauerts.
Yeah, well, Dad did a apprenticeship in Dimboola. He was a Dimboola boy. But he always said he'd never open against his boss. So he went and opened a repair shop in Ballarat, shoe repairs. And he was there for 3 years, but he reckoned it was too cold. So a shop became available in Warrnambool, and he moved to Warrnambool. It was an old shoe repair shop, and put a bit of polish to it. And from there he did his shoe repairs, and then put in a few shoes. And it went from there.
And for you as well, I mean, growing up around the shop, and obviously became a very well-known shop in Warrnambool very quickly. But for you, what was it like growing up around Rauerts Shoex?
Well, I don't know. I suppose as a kid you take it for granted a bit. They tell me I was born at the back of the old shop.
What a story.
You know, before we moved into a proper house, there was a flat at the back of the shop, and my sister and I, we were born there.
Right.
So,
has that been confirmed since?
Born in the shoes.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I suppose from there, yeah, do you have any memories of growing up around the shop? As you said, you might have taken it for granted, but do you have any memories of growing up around it?
Oh, well... You know, the old shop before it was extended, you know, it had a backyard, there was a tank stand. I think Borthwick's used to have the shop just 2 doors down. And the back of our shop used to back onto Borthwick's there, which was the big butchers and wholesalers. And I remember weeding the back garden. Probably got me 20 cents, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of pocket money.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few years, at what point did you start getting involved in the shop? And was it something that you actually wanted to do, or were you looking to maybe go and do something else?
And then I think it was at the point Friday nights were big. I think there'd been an agreement around Warrnambool where shops open Friday night, they closed Saturdays, so there was no Saturday mornings. And Friday nights were big.
Yeah.
You know, and they used to line up. They'd line up to come and get their footy boots, cricket boots. You know, none of these things were pre-laced then, and you'd be there lacing the bloody things up. But and that was before all the sports stores come too. You know, now we don't even sell a footy boot. Now things change.
Absolutely. And so was that when you sort of started getting involved in the business?
Yeah, and we used to come in and do Friday nights, and then I think Saturday morning sort of slowly crept back in, and then Friday nights disappeared after a while.
Was there ever a time that you thought, no, I don't really want to get into the shoe business or the repair business, and you wanted to go do something else, or was it always getting into the family business for you, Pete?
Well, I suppose in a way it was maybe a little bit of a natural progression. If I hadn't have done that, I was always good with my hands, and maybe I might have been a builder or a cabinet maker or, you know, done something like that.
Yeah.
But I left school. I was probably about 17 and a half and went straight into the shoe shop.
And we were just talking before you started going on some trips with your dad as well and getting involved in Rauerts. Tell us about those memories.
That's right. Your dad was good, and we used to go down to Melbourne together, and I suppose he was training me up. But we'd go down and look at all the new ranges and and buy shoes for the following season. Back in those days, everything was made in Melbourne pretty well. Around Preston, Northcote, and we were going around all the factories. Your good old names: Florsham, Footrest, Windsor Smith.
Oh yes.
Back then Windsor Smith had the men's boots with the Cuban heel.
I remember. I reckon they used to give away the Windsor Smiths on Lou's Handball on the old Sunday Footy Show back in the day.
They probably did.
Yeah.
They probably did, and and you could go out the back in those factories and watch them being made and glued, and had the presses, and often they were stitching some of the shoes up by hand. So it was amazing.
And just on that, I suppose, you look at the access and how it happened back in the day like that to how it happens now. It's changed so much, hasn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it has. I think of the late 70s, it was the Button plan, Senator Button, decentralisation, and, sorry.
You're all right, mate.
And, the Button plan sort of opened Australia up to the world, but as a factory, you either went offshore or you virtually went broke, and a lot of them went offshore. I suppose so many closed up and the rest went broke.
It's disappointing too, the way. It was probably disappointing for you guys involved directly in the industry to see how some of that sort of ended up, didn't it?
Yeah, and back at the time, I remember Dinah Ferrari had a factory in Preston, and they had a day shift and they had a night shift and they had a counter on the roof so they could see who was in front of each other.
I love that.
And they built a brand new factory, brand spanker, all the latest equipment over Fairfield there. And I think within 18 months, they just lifted the whole factory up straight over to China.
Wow.
Just like that. And it was a brand new, most modern factory in Australia. Gone.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And talking about, I suppose, then importing shoes, probably the first few imported shoes were quite maybe something, Pete. Not everyone was a fan of them when they first started importing them.
No. I remember we had some first few lots we got out of India. Summer sandals, and they'd come in mouldy. You'd be scraping the mould off them. And then there was another brand we had out of China, a brand called Andre. But people used to complain about the smell in the house. They'd come home maybe before they go to bed, kick their shoes off, put them under the bed, and they'd be running around the house looking for this dead mouse. And it was these shoes. It was just they had a terrible way of tanning them for a start, until their methods improved. And these shoes were on the nose.
And safe to say, thank goodness the methods have improved.
Yes,
in the years gone by. I want to talk about, you mentioned your dad, and of course he started Rauerts. What was he like as a boss in those early days?
Yeah, well, Dad was good. I suppose, you come out of school and maybe you think you're a bit of a know-it-all. I don't know. But, it's not always good. Well, it's good, but it's not always easy, I suppose, working with your father. You come home at night time and he's there with you, but as time went on, I think you become more knowledgeable and know how the system works and all of that. But no, we got on fairly well.
And I think it goes without saying too, obviously it means a lot to you and the family, but I think he means a lot to Warrnambool as well. I mean, without him, there's no Rauerts in Warrnambool. It's a pretty big mark, to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're almost touching on 80 years at the moment, and Dad put in 50 years. I'm at 49 years. Doesn't seem that long, You think, oh, I was at school only a few years ago, but yeah, it's a great sort of innings, and I think you learn that much along the way and gain that much respect out of it. So, but it's been good.
Absolutely,
It's a good journey.
Oh, it's a fantastic journey, mate. And I think, the amount of businesses that we see that haven't really reached the longevity like yourself, and you look at, say, Kerman's as well, and Ponting's Mitre 10.
Yeah.
Like, they're three businesses straight at the top of my mind that have had so much longevity in Warrnambool, and I think it's an absolute credit. I want to talk about trends. You were talking about the imported shoes, and you and your dad would go down and look for shoes. How have they evolved over the years, the trends in shoes?
Well, there's been some big trends over the years, and years ago there used to be the Polish desert boots.
Polish desert boots.
The Polish, the high top desert boots, and they were big. And back then there was no stock in Australia. Importers had no stock, so you had to order everything 6 months ahead. But and they were big. They were big for years. The high top desert boots. And then uni boots were big for the women. A lot of your imports back then were made out of Brazil. There was none of your European brands. They were all Brazil was big. Anything good and anything quality come out of Brazil.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
But and these uni boots, they were big. Treads. Treads sandals, they were made out of old car tyres.
Treads.
And they mightn't have lasted quite as long, but they were big.
Yeah.
And you'd never wear them out. You can imagine made of an old car tyre.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of them anytime quick,
No.
are you?
I don't know if they come with a 40,000 wear guarantee or...
Yeah, do they need sort of, realignment or something after a couple of months, or
Yeah.
they go through all right?
That's right.
But what about trends? You've probably seen trends come and go too, because I think in fashion in general, I mean, you see 90s trends all of a sudden come back into current fashion, that sort of thing. You've probably seen the same with shoes.
Yeah, you do, and I think around the 70s, long boots were big. I remember Dad made a stand-up boot stand in the shop at the time, and we had lots of long boots. Maybe we weren't quite as strict with our buying back then, because a lot of what we had we were quite often overstocked with. But, and then a few years ago, long boots made a resurgence again. They were big. And then boots are still about, but they've all gone shorter again. And lace-up casuals are big, sort of lace-up, street walkers. All that sort of thing, which we haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Hey, Pete, I want to talk to you about probably one of the most iconic things about Rauerts Shoex, and it's something that's burned into my brain. You get round to January, Mum says we're going to go buy some new school shoes. You think, absolutely brilliant, because I'm going into Rauerts and I'm going to get fitted while sitting on that iconic Rauerts Shoex train. And when I remember, whoever was serving you at the time, they'd duck out the back to get the right size, and you'd just be busting to drive the train and sit in the carriage or sit in the engine. How did the train at Rauerts eventuate, mate? Can you remember?
Well, it's... I think at the time, around 1966, Dad had the shop extended, and now I'm just lost for who the builders were there. Yeah. But anyway, the guys that built it, plus I think back then Billy Fish worked for us. And his dad, Nelson, was a cabinet maker. And I think between the builders and Nelson Fish, they made this train. Dad had this idea he'd seen elsewhere, and Because whenever we went on holidays, Dad had his notebook out and he'd be taking notes and doing sketches and going into shoe stores. You're thinking, Jesus, Dad, you're not going into another shoe store, are you?
It's a working holiday always.
Yeah. But and anyway, they built this train and it was painted up and it became known as Uncle Ron's train.
And Uncle Ron's train would have had, I'm sure, that many kids fitted for shoes on it over the years. It probably become, as I remember, it probably become half the point. Kids wanted to come in and get shoes fitted and made it a little bit more relaxing for the kids.
Yeah, and kids would be saying to their parents, "Oh, we're going to the train shop, Mum." And off they'd go.
Yeah.
And the mums have sat on it, the kids have sat on it, the mums have sat on it, the grandmothers have sat on it, and now the grandparents are bringing the grandkids in, and they all sit on it, and so.
I do need to ask now that Rauerts is closing up. Is there any plans for the train? What's going to happen with it?
Well, I don't know. There's a few people have got their hand up for it, and it'll turn up somewhere.
You could auction it off, Pete.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, that's a nice little extra retirement package there, I reckon.
I know there was a group of ladies trying to get it into the library.
Yes, I like that.
I don't know what's happening there, but and there's been a few people which have sort of put their hand up, and
I think it just shows as well, though, probably the impact of the train as well and how popular it was, but it also leaves you in a nice little position of power. You can do whatever you want with it, Pete.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. It's really good. What about the staff? Because, they've been such an integral part way back from when your dad, Ron, first started the shop, but you've had some wonderful staff go through the business, I'm sure, over the years.
Oh, we've had lots and lots of staff, and the funny thing is, back years ago, a lot of the girls, used to start straight out of school. Back then you were like 15, 16, and and some of those people, we had one in the other day, Frances from Port Fairy, and she would have been 15 when she started with us, and wow. Straight out of school, and.
Yeah.
And, we've had lots of great staff out of the years. I mentioned Billy Fish worked with us. Billy was 15 when he come to work with Ronnie, so straight out of school. But, how things have changed. Now they do year 12, then they go to uni, and the whole situation's just changed there. There's almost no such thing as juniors anymore. They're almost seniors by the time you get anyone.
Yeah, it's certainly changed, absolutely, in the workforce. And look, we've spoken about the staff, the trends, all that sort of stuff. Have you got a couple of favourite memories or your favourite things about being involved at Rauerts, Pete? Because, as you said, 49 years, I'm sure a lot of different memories, but are there a couple of things that stand out for you?
Oh, I don't know. It's all good. Retail's probably a fickle thing. It's you get your good years, and then you get your maybe not so good or difficult years. We've had lots of good years. To me, when GST was coming in, that was a funny one because. There was the lead up to GST and there was the countdown, 2 weeks, 1 week, and there were sales on, buy your shoes before GST comes in. But the following year, business died. GST come in, business died, and we had a terrible 12 months. And then things pick up again, and you're back to your normal years. I suppose COVID was another thing. It's, who would have thought we would have been asked to close our stores?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was the start of the season. I think we had half our winter stock in, and all of a sudden, bang, you've got to close.
Yeah.
You know, and you're thinking, Jesus, you got all this stock to pay for. You were fully committed at the bank, and they're getting you to close your door.
Yeah. It's bizarre, and I can't believe we've been through that period, Pete, because you would have seen it at the coalface. Retail as a whole, you know, really took a whack, especially around Warrnambool, I think, and in regional towns as a whole.
Yeah,
retail did take a whack over those years, didn't they?
And it was funny, you know. COVID sort of come and went, and we had a few good years again after that. You know, and then at the moment, retail's fairly tough again. You know, the economy out there and isn't real flash.
What about retirement, Pete? What does it look like for you? Is there any immediate plans, or is it just whatever happens, happens? Have you got anything lined up?
Well, I think retirement's looking pretty good for me. I'm looking forward to it.
Especially if you take offers on the train.
I've said to them I'm going to go away and hide for a while, but no, I think next year we'll probably head overseas. And I'm a bike rider. There's a group of us talking about riding the Alps in Italy, so. Lovely. If you're over there, you might see me. I might be down in one of those little coffee shops having a brew.
You would be a bike rider if you weren't, Pete, I reckon. And the people of Warrnambool, I mean, to be open for nearly 80 years, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but August would be your 80th birthday at Rauerts.
That's right, August this year.
The people of Warrnambool must have been an incredible support over nearly 80 years of Rauerts Shoex, mate.
Yeah, and it's been a great business. You know, we've had some loyal supporters. You know, there's been quite a few which have said to Dad, "Oh, I was the first. You know, when you came to Warrnambool, I was the first." And they've come into the shop saying that to me, and I said, "Well, you can't have been first because Jack Daffy said he was the first." But no, serious. We've had some great customers, some very loyal customers, you know, and they all, you know, we appreciate them all. It's been a great journey. So.
Well, and look, to you and to everyone there, what Ron started nearly 80 years ago has been just like an iconic part of Warrnambool, and look, we couldn't thank you enough, Pete, for what you guys have provided for Warrnambool. I want to, before we wrap it up, I want to leave the mic open to you for any thank yous you might want to finish on, mate, because 80 years, I'm sure there is probably a few people you want to thank.
Yeah, you know, we tried to sell the business, and I'm disappointed it didn't sell, because I think the shop itself means a lot to Warrnambool, and but anyway, yeah, I'd just like to thank, you know, we've had a terrific run of staff. You know, we've got some good staff at the moment, and they've all stayed to the end, and you know, we'll go out and have a good party later on. We'll all catch up and with the staff and some of our ex-staff. So that'll be a great thing to do. But no, just a big thank you to everyone.
For sure, Pete. And from us here at 3LA FM and Coast FM too, you've been absolutely loyal and an amazing client of ours and an amazing supporter of a lot of things we've done over the years. So we really appreciate your support too. Look, again, thanks so much for spending some time with us today and chatting about Rauerts Shoex. It's been an absolute pleasure. You enjoy retirement and that cycle through the Italian Alps, mate, and we look forward to seeing you around Warrnambool in the near future. But congratulations on everything that's been achieved with Rauerts Shoex, Pete.
Good on you. Thanks, Rocky.